Welcome back to another roundtable. My name is Adam. With me once again, I have Victor.
Hi everyone.
And Rusmin.
Hello.
And today we have a very special guest all the way from SGX RegCo. His name is Chew Chin Yee, and he's the managing director at SGX RegCo. So tell us a bit more about yourself.
Hi everyone. Hi, thanks Victor. Nice to be here, and Adam and Rusmin.
Yeah.
RegCo is as you all would know, a independent regulatory authority under the Singapore Exchange, and we undertake the frontline regulation of the market. And within RegCo, we have several functions. I'm in charge of the enforcement function, which is pertinent for the topic for today.
Okay, yeah. So I haven't introduced a topic for today. So we're going to talk about rogue companies in Singapore that have actually stepped out of line, and what happened to them and what did SGX do to kind of like bring them back in line. So that is the purpose for this roundtable. And it's great to have you here because I think you have a lot of first-hand experience about what's been happening, some of the gossip and the things that these companies or directors have been up to. All right, and I think as investors ourselves, one of the main things that we do as investors is that we want to make sure that we're investing in a company that you can trust.
Yep.
So
the right management.
The management is very, very important. So if these guys are kind of like playing a game somewhere, we want to watch out for that and what the red flags to look out for. So in your experience, some companies you can share, what are some of the companies that have stepped out of line and what happened to them? What did SGX RegCo do as well?
Hey, thanks Adam. Before I start talking about the companies, maybe I can just give a very short overview of how RegCo plays its role in the market.
Yep.
So as I said, we are independent subsidiary to regulate the market, and the chief aim for us and our rules and frameworks is to ensure the integrity of the market, and also to uphold the rights of the participants, such as the shareholders, the companies, and the brokers. Now, the main important thing to remember as I go through the cases is that regardless of our regulatory powers, we are still a private company. We're not, for example, like the police or the MAS or ACRA, statutory bodies. And that's important later on as I go through the cases. So the first case I would like to touch more on would be a company called ChemSing. You will be familiar, I think, with the business it runs. It runs the Nature's Farm chain of supplement stores.
Okay.
Now, some years back, I think it was 2019, ChemSing ran into some ambiguities in the course of its annual audit. I think the auditors flagged out a couple of areas where they had some concerns on transactions which were difficult to verify, and also concerns about the cash balances of the company. Now, when these were flagged out, shortly after, the entirety of the independent directors who formed the audit committee, which generally is the first frontline in charge in the company of these audit matters, all of them resigned.
All of them.
That's a very big red flag.
How many walked out?
4, if I can recall.
Okay.
Yes.
That's a big red flag.
Yeah. So yes, it caught us by surprise, obviously.
Okay.
And what they said was the reason was that they had disagreement with the board over the resolution of these audit matters.
Okay.
So clearly we had to step in quickly. And what we do when we step in fast is that we use powers in our rules to issue a requirements on companies. We call it a notice of compliance. Now it's fast and it's not a disciplinary action. It's basically directing a company to do certain things. And what we asked for was that the company would to immediately appoint a special auditor to look into the concerns flagged up by the auditors. Okay. This is a third-party firm specializing in these matters. At the same time, I think we were quite concerned about the directors jumping ship.
Yeah.
Right, specifically since we know the market relies on them to see this through.
So they can't do that, right? Can they?
Well, there's nothing in the rules stopping directors from stepping down.
Okay.
What we did do was that at the minimum, we felt you needed more transparency for the market. And so as part of our directive, we required the directors to give detailed reasons beyond the top line responses they have been giving to explain precisely why they were stepping down. And after that, we issued a regulatory column telling the whole market our expectations for directors, key among which we made it very clear that when a company is in trouble, you actually need to be there to help steer the company out, because directors are, as we all know, they are fiduciaries. They're meant to serve the interests of the company and the shareholders.
Yes.
And by departing en masse so abruptly, you actually delay the ability of the company to resolve issues. And so the directors gave very clear reasons.
Okay.
And I think they did acknowledge that on hindsight, it would have been better for them to have consulted with us on what's the best way to proceed.
Okay. So they felt as if like they couldn't fix the issue at the company, like with the board of directors, and they decided, you know, I'm out of here. But the better course of action would have been just to go straight to RegCo, for example, tell them exactly what's happening, what's wrong with this particular company. And I mean, I'm sure all the information that they shared with you, the more transparent information, but basically helped with the investigation as well, right?
Well, as we engaged them, yes, it helped. And it certainly helped that there was a special auditor on site. I mean, we certainly would have appreciated them coming to us with their concerns rather than immediately resigning, which is basically what they did.
Okay. So did anything happen to, I mean, was there a slap on the wrist for the directors, or, anything happened to the company? Was there what's the aftermath of this whole thing?
But with the directors, and this is set out in our regulatory announcements as well, they voluntarily agreed to notify RegCo if in the future they decide to seek any other appointments on listed companies on the Singapore market.
I see.
We referred the case to the authorities, and the special auditor completed his work. And thankfully, didn't find anything that was fraudulent.
Okay. Right. So there's a happy ending to this story in a sense.
Yes.
But this shows the process that, I mean, your role is so important to make sure that these things are checked, the checks and balances, to make sure that even at the end of the day, everything's okay. You go through the process to make sure that it's okay. Yes. So in this sense, this case, there was a happy ending for Kem Sing. Okay.
Exactly. In fact, one of our main focus at RegCo is, as I said, we are not statutory bodies or criminal investigation bodies. So our focus very much is making sure that the foundations are there in the market, that the shareholder rights can be protected. So directors must play a role. Companies must properly disclose their matters clearly. And that actually moves me down to the other case I wanted to talk about, which is SingPost.
Okay. Oh, this is a big one.
Well, I don't think I need to explain what SingPost does. I mean, it's a very big company in our market, and many retail investors are in it. So this concerned the transaction that SingPost made. I'm struggling to remember the date, 2017. I'm not sure.
Around there, right? I remember there was a lot of news about it.
Acquisition of a company called Famous. And what happened then was that one of the independent directors, Mr. Keith Tay, was actually associated with the advisor representing the seller to SingPost. So this is an independent director on SingPost, and but he had an interest in the financial advisor, Sterling Coleman. So when SingPost announced its acquisition, they had a line in the announcement saying that none of its directors had any direct or indirect interest in the entire transaction, which clearly was a mistake.
Yes.
We noted several issues after the investigations. First of all, which was that when they released the announcement, they didn't go through the board. So it wasn't cleared by the board, the whole board, sorry, I meant. Of course, some members of the board did clear it, but it wasn't cleared by the entire board before it was released. In which case, I'm quite sure the mistake would have been caught, because when Keith saw the announcement the day it was released, he immediately notified the company secretary, saying that this is inaccurate, and can you please see whether something needs to be done. Now, the second issue that occurred was after that, because having notified the company secretary, this was not notified or escalated by the company secretary to the board to consider the matter. What the secretary did was to consult their legal advisors on whether any action needed to be taken. So legal advisors thought that it was not necessary to disclose that Mr. Tay had an interest in the transaction through his relationship with the financial advisor. And I can explain a bit more on that later. So the unhappy end to this whole saga is that the matter did eventually come to light, but much, much later. The board was aware of it, and immediately they took action. To credit them, they appointed 2 special auditors to look into their corporate governance processes and how they deal with announcements, and they implemented many changes. Right.
I was there at the AGM. I remember when this thing came to light.
Tell us more about your
shareholder was very angry. A lot of people was questioning on this. Say, why do you say it early?
Yeah.
So it's essentially a related party transaction.
Not precisely, because what happened here was that, to be fair to the whole board, Keith did not actually have an interest in the transaction per se, technically speaking, because he was not involved with the seller, but he was involved with a party representing a seller.
Financial advisor.
Yeah, financial advisor. And so he may have had an interest in the transaction going through. I think the board was very transparent. He had recused himself during voting, so he did not impact on the decision. And secondly, what the legal advisor thought at the time was that whether or not his interest, or rather his interest in the financial advisor was not technically something you would have had to disclose under our listing rules.
Oh.
It later was made clear that what the legal advisor didn't know was that they had already announced an erroneous statement.
Okay.
And because he didn't know that, he gave an opinion based on the fact of this information in and of itself is not material. But the difference is, once you have put it out in an announcement and it's clearly erroneous and it does have an impact potentially on the decision of the shareholders, then it's a totally different story. And at no time was the board notified of this, which is what we had major issues with. It was between the secretary and the legal advisor, and the decision was then taken.
All right.
Without the board knowing.
So would this be kind of like something they're just not communicating within the companies, within the processes? Is something that's not going on within SingPost, that all these things should be, I mean, a normal, I guess, a functioning company, not to say SingPost is not functioning, I need to delivers my mail every day, but these things should just be ironed out all the time, right? Not some members are left out and then they don't know what's happening.
Precisely right. And we did take issue with that the processes they had for deciding on announcements and for making decisions in these areas needed to be strengthened. And to their credit, they did take in all the recommendations of the special advisors and auditors in this regard, and they are strengthening their processes. But what I felt was quite a good thing to take away from this is, after a while, it's not so much whether the information is material, it is in terms of the company's responsibility to the public and the information you give to your shareholders. You have to be accurate to the market. And while, as you heard, the legal advisor thought that the information itself may not have been material, but you have given an erroneous announcement to the market, and that's the bedrock of our regime. It's a disclosure-based regime. So we took it very, very seriously.
All right. So was there a slap on the wrist this time around?
They were publicly reprimanded for a lack of proper internal controls. And as I said, all credit to them, took very proactive steps to iron it out.
Okay. What did you? I mean, at the AGM, when you said there are a lot of shareholders that were unhappy, were they like screaming their head off and stuff like that?
No, they're just questioning the boards and all this. But I think it came at a bad time, because I think that at the point of time they did quite a few of the acquisition that it didn't turn out well. So it's like everything comes together, then it just blew up in the AGM, and people are just non-stop going to the mic and just, questioning and all that.
And there are always people that are unhappy that the company never give any vouchers or buffet.
At the AGM there's always questions like that. But for that AGM, it was just like, I mean,
it was very long, the AGM.
Do you remember the share price or what happened to it at that point in time?
I think it tanks because of some of their the acquisition that they bought didn't turn out well.
So it's like a perfect storm, like all these things just coming together, and then it's like
it was bad timing.
So I'm sure that would have like pissed off a lot of shareholders.
But I think if it's just this case, then probably it won't be so blown up.
Okay. So that was SingPost. All right, and so that was quickly handled as well the moment it came to light by SGX RegCo. Any other case studies that you have? These are pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, I had one last one, which I thought was good to mention, and that's the case of Track.
Okay.
And I think Track is also very famous for both right and wrong reasons.
The thumb drive maker, right? I mean, the first guy to kind of like patent it, I think, but it just didn't work out, I guess.
Yes, exactly. So the inventor of thumb drive in Singapore, it's quite amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah.
Yes, but as we know, recently the CEO has been sentenced to jail for falsification of accounts and transactions.
Okay.
And some of these issues came to light to RegCo before it was referred to the authorities for investigations. And this concerned what we call interested party transactions. And I think just briefly, that means that the company is transacting with another counterparty in which its directors or its executives have an interest in. In this case, the CEO of Track and his son owned one company and had a majority stake in another company. These are two separate companies that Track had transactions with. And for that second company, which they had a majority stake in, the previous owner was the spouse of another executive director on Track. So you can see the parties are very closely connected.
Sounds very incestuous. That's the word I can use. Okay, but yes, please tell us more.
It is in a way. So clearly for our rules, once your transactions with interested parties crosses a certain threshold, 5% for a transaction of the company's net tangible assets, or if aggregated, 3%, you have to both disclose and seek shareholders' approval. Right, and that's to protect the shareholder, because then you get a chance to question management. Are you sure these are commercial terms? You can require more duty to be done, and so on. None of this was done, of course, because none of this was disclosed to the board by the CEO. So these transactions went to. We eventually found out.
How did it come to light?
I must say I don't have the details of how it came to light at this moment in time.
Okay.
But I do. What I do know is we did immediately then require similarly a special audit, because we needed someone to uncover the truth of all these transactions. And as it turned out, special audit dug out a lot more things thereafter, and we reprimanded the company as well as the directors. They themselves were later hauled out to court for other transactions as well, which was uncovered in the course of the audits.
All right. Yeah, reminds me of a quote. If you're doing a crime, don't do a crime when you're doing a crime. So if not, everything gets uncovered.
Yes.
And then the cat is out of the bag, and then, it just goes everywhere.
Yeah.
So this I mean, I hear that RegCo has you do a lot of reprimands. Do you have any power to actually I don't know, send these people to jail, or can you shut down their operations? What is the extent of the powers that SGX RegCo has?
Thanks for asking that, because as I did mention at the beginning, I did ask everyone to remember we are at the end of the day a private sector company, even though we have some regulatory powers. And your question hit the nail on the head, because we are not created by statute for enforcement, so we don't have the powers of say the police. Such as the CAD or the MAS. We cannot arrest, we cannot search and seize on the premises. We can't control evidence in the way that these investigation bodies can. And clearly we cannot press criminal charges for breaches of the law.
Okay.
So what we do is that our frameworks are all tailored at the prevention side of things.
Okay.
You lay the foundation, and we do corporate surveillance and market surveillance, such that we have the first line of information. If we do uncover potential breaches of the law, that's a referral to the relevant authorities for investigations, because they have the proper powers. Yes.
So a company or director just can't ignore you and go, oh, okay, SGX RegCo, I'll just ignore your reprimands and just carry on as per normal. They do get into trouble.
They will get in trouble if there are breaches of the law, and investigations to bear it out.
Okay.
Right. And that's the role we play. The other part, of course, I wanted to bring out at this stage is because we're a regulator, as I said, our focus is on the disclosures and to ensure that shareholders can exercise their rights. A keyword here is to let them exercise their rights, and we can't exercise it on their behalf. So we have from time to time been asked to deal with companies. For example, if you have a developer company which builds condominiums, we'll get complaints about the quality of the sales process, or how the condo is not built to
the finishes are not as high quality and stuff like that.
And how as a regulator of this company, can you do something about it? I mean that's just not our role.
So we can't do that.
I mean sympathize, and I do understand the frustrations, but that's just not our role. Our role is about how the company has conducted itself with respect to its shareholders.
Okay.
Is it disclosing properly? Is it making sure that it is not engaging in interested party transactions, for instance? So this is not where we can step in.
Yeah. Can you blacklist directors who fail to comply with you, or those who have actually served those fraudulent company in the past, like some S-chip companies like Ratat? Can they be reappointed again to a public listed company again?
Yeah. So there are two aspects to this.
Yeah.
First of all, if we are of the opinion that a director failed to comply with our investigations, or if we find that they have contributed to a breach of the company of the rules,
Yeah.
we will place them on a director's watch list, which is publicly available.
I see.
So there's a SGX RegCo director's
Okay.
watch
Yep.
list.
Yes.
So this is like being on Centre's naughty list in a sense.
Well, I wouldn't call it naughty or nice, but yes, it's there for public to know that these are directors we have found to be less than helpful to us,
Okay.
and
Wow.
who may have contributed to breaches of the rules.
Wow.
Okay.
So I'm actually looking at the director watch list now.
Do you know anyone
Yeah.
there?
Not that I know of, but there are 85 people in the list as
Yep.
of
Okay.
the time of this recording.
I think this list is very helpful. Right? At the end of the day, when we buy into a company, the
Yeah.
management is very important. Right?
Yeah.
If the management is a crook, then everything else you can't trust it. Right?
Like you said, it's not exactly
Yeah.
a crook, right?
yeah.
It's like may have
Fail
some
to comply.
questionable
Fail to
behavior.
comply, yeah.
Is that
Yes.
how you define
Yeah.
it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And what we do require, if you are on the watch list and you are a listed company in Singapore, if you wish to appoint that director onto your board, you have to consult with us first.
Oh.
Mm.
So only if you say yes, then that guy gets to be a director again.
I think we would need to be involved in the process of
Okay.
the
I
appointment.
see. I see.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is for directors. Is there a similar one for companies as well?
Companies, no, we don't have a watch list of companies, but we do have a watch. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We don't have a watch list of companies that breach rules.
Okay.
What we do have is a watch list of companies that you need to pay attention to because they have failed financial criteria.
Mm.
Okay.
So that's what we call the financial watch list.
Okay. So it's more focused on financials rather than, I guess, governance. Is that? I mean, I know it's related in a sense.
Yes, it's not a discipline. It's not based on disciplinary record. It's based on the fact that they have suffered 3 consecutive years of losses and they are of a certain below a certain market cap.
All right.
Therefore, we want the investors to be
I think what
more
most
careful.
investor want actually is a potential fraud company.
But you can't do that. You can't say that this company is potentially fraudulent. That is
Yeah.
very tricky area.
Yeah, that,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be something we can go into.
Yeah, you can't
Of
go
course,
into
we
that.
do survey companies and
Yeah.
we do corporate surveillance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, listening to all these stories on Camsing, Singpost, Trek International,
Yep.
and I mean, hearing about how you deal with these, companies and directors. What are some of the red flags that retail investors like us can look out for? Like, let's say I'm out in the open. I want to invest in Singapore companies because I like Singapore. I want the Sing dollar and stuff like that. Tax free. What can I look out for when I'm evaluating a company's management? To just make sure that they're good guys. How do we do that?
No, it's $1 million question there. But I do come across very often. You see you read on investor forums and
Yeah.
there's this acronym DYODD, do your own
Oh
duty.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes.
And
yes.
what's important is you've seen how much we focus on director integrity
Yeah.
and on announcements. And what investors really need to do is to read through, first of all, and see how the directors behave, how the company behaves in the transactions they undertake. I mean, nothing gives you a better sense of the quality or the, I wouldn't say integrity, but the mindset of the management than from the announcements and how much they wish to say, when they say it, and what they say are their rationale. And I think these are crucial, and this gives the first step because you have to think that the management does things in a way that a good management is doing it. As an investor, you have to have the trust that they will be telling you what you need to know.
Yeah.
And the hallmarks of as companies you maybe should avoid are when you think that what the company is saying or what the company is doing doesn't really correspond to your view on what the company needs to be doing. Now, this may not always be a breach of the rules,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it does show the level of transparency and engagement they're willing to undertake. And I would say the first step for any investor is if you are investing in a company that is mindful of its duties to the shareholders, I mean, that's a win. That's the first thing you need to look out for.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that one of the reasons why we go to AGMs quite a bit. I mean, when it was open and it's resuming now, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we spend a lot of time doing all this due diligence.
Yeah, we actually go down to a lot of
Yeah.
Singapore AGMs, have a look at how the directors respond to questions, how they treat shareholders. I remember a video, I can't remember the company's name, there was a director that threatened a shareholder as well. I can't remember the name. I don't want to say it here, but it went viral as well.
Yep.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so you have episodes like that, and you kind of go like, oh man, I wouldn't invest in that company because it's like they're out they're just taking care of themselves. Yeah, so it's like just going to the AGM really helps. Just kind of like suss out how the CEO or directors actually treat minority shareholders.
I think I really agree what he just says. Actually, most of what he just explained is actually is looking at the behavior of the management. In the end, at the end of the day, the management can say a lot of things, but they behave differently, right?
Yeah.
You don't feel comfortable, right? Well done is always better than well said, right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Well said.
Well said. Well said. Yeah. So I think that's true. So I think you've been very, very helpful. I think because you're on the other side of this whole, I guess, equation. We're on this side looking in, and then you are the ones kind of like surveilling the whole process, the whole landscape, and letting us know what to look out for. These are the stories that you've experienced yourself. So I think that's been really, really helpful. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Do you have a channel where you can, I think some whistleblower can actually report to you?
That's what
I think this is
ask you
probably
as
a
well.
channel where people are, if they know something, they can actually report to you
Yes,
guys.
thanks for that. And one of my portfolios is the Whistleblowing Office. We set that up about 2 years back. And we need investors and the entire ecosystem to help us do their part.
Yes.
And if you are a part of the company and you do see something which seems wrong or off, I would strongly encourage you to submit your concerns to the Whistleblowing Office. I mean, set up for this particular purpose, and the credo is we will protect the identity of the whistleblower while we do investigations.
Yes.
And we've also required all companies to have their own whistleblowing policies and infrastructure in place. So similarly, to protect identity of the whistleblower and to prevent reprisals.
All right. Okay.
And so we do need the help of everyone in this ecosystem.
So if you're like a shareholder or if you're working with a company, you can basically flag anything that you deem like just a bit.
Yes, I mean the one thing I can commit to is we will always take it seriously. I cannot guarantee that something's definitely wrong or action must definitely be taken, but we will always take it seriously and we will always look into it.
Okay, and of course the identity is protected.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So is it like a website that they go to on?
Yes, it's on our RegCo website. And the
under regulation, SGX regulation.
We'll put a link. We'll put a link in the description, and I mean you just click on it. But basically, there is a website, and they go to
RegCo whistleblowing at SGX.com. So that's easy to remember.
Okay. So we'll put it up on the screen, and of course in the description as well. If you want to, I guess, blow a whistle, suspect anything at this point in time. But that is the role that SGX RegCo plays for all of us. I think it's not just about. We do need authorities like you to kind of like make sure that the whole ecosystem is healthy. It's not just investors. I mean, everyone plays a part, and I think because RegCo wasn't, it was formed relatively recently, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So this is kind of like a important development for I think our local market to have this organization that takes care of all these things, and kind of like it just makes me feel a lot better about the investing in Singapore as well. Yeah. All right, so I think that was a pretty good wrap up of this roundtable.
Yep.
So I think that was very, very helpful, Chin Yee. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Thanks for having
So once
me.
again, my name is Adam. That is Victor.
Thank you.
That is Roseman, and this is Chin Yee, all the way from SGX RegCo. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, any questions about this, regulations or SGX RegCo, put them in the comment section. We'll answer them. And of course, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Many more roundtables coming up, and we'll love to see you again. So we'll put the link in the description as well if you want to find out more about the Director's Watchlist and of course, whistleblowing as well.
Yes.
All right, so thank you so much, and we'll see you around again.